I want to talk some NXT and the big surprise last night of the return of Shawn Spears. And it's not even just about the return of Shawn Spears, Bully, but truly is the return of Shawn Spears. You know, we got when he left the WWE, he was Ty Dillinger, was with NXT, moved up to SmackDown, and then he was gone as Ty Dillinger. Went to AEW as Shawn Spears was with AEW for over 4 years as Shawn Spears had an amazing feud with Cody Rhodes. And then once that feud was over, didn't really hear much from Shawn Spears. Didn't hear much at all. He left. He asked for his release, and then we saw him re-debut with NXT last night. And it got me thinking, Bully, like, I honestly don't remember, and we've seen it how many millions of times, where a wrestler leaves the WWE, loses their WWE name, reinvents themselves under another name, but once they come back to the WWE, they get that WWE name back. Not the case with Shawn Spears. That was Shawn Spears who we saw last night. I honestly, Tommy and Bully, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't remember another wrestler being able to do that. Do you guys remember that at all?
You have outthinked the think. I don't. I've been racking my brain the entire time. Hopefully, the nation can help us out here, because it's a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys can't figure it out, my memory is not going to be good enough to think of anybody. But when it comes to Spears, I mean, I knew we were going to talk about this today, and I'm racking my brain to try to figure out something to say other than what I really want to say.
Say what you want to say.
It was great to see Shawn Spears back last night, yada, yada. But when it comes to the misuse of talent in AEW, I can probably put Shawn Spears up in the top 3 names of guys that were just not used, mistakes were made, botched, whatever you want to call it. But I'll be damned if that chair shot, like we talk about WrestleMania moments. How about an AEW moment that I don't want to say chair shot used around the world because that's Tommy and Raven's thing, but I'll just use that that wording to describe Spears chair shot on Cody. Man, did they have a moment right there? Man, did they catch lightning in a bottle? Man, was Shawn Spears hated. They got it all right in that moment. And then, much like Wile E. Coyote falling off the cliff, poof, done. Then they try to repackage him with Tully. That really didn't work. What went wrong with Shawn Spears in AEW? That's the question I want to know. I'm asking. That's the answer I want. Where did things go wrong with a guy that in the beginning was doing so well, had such a great moment? Now, I'm sure Shawn Spears will be utilized much better in NXT than he was in AEW. Do you guys have a good answer of what happened 4 years ago, whatever it was, and why Shawn Spears was just, I don't even think he was put on the back burner. I think he was taken off the stove.
Yeah, Bully, I got to agree with you on this one. You look back at, that chairman of AEW, that chairman character that he had, and you said that chair shot. That, if you remember, we talked about that for weeks here on Busted Open. That was a big moment early on in AEW. That was like really, I get one of the hottest first feuds for AEW was that Cody Shawn Spears feud. And then right after that feud ended, he got into that feud with Scorpio Sky. Scorpio Sky is another person that you could probably put on that list of guys that for a moment was hot in AEW, then was kind of off TV. Then there was the Pinnacle, and he was part of the Pinnacle. And then soon after that, by the end of 2021, I would say that Tommy Bully's point is valid, where he just wasn't on TV at all. And for somebody that was that hot early on, just never was able to get even close to where he was back in 2019 and 2020. And it's a shame because in the WWE, if you remember, he was hot. Then he injured his hand. And then when he came back from that injury with his hand, he never really got back on track either. So it's an interesting one.
Well, I mean, he was in WWE twice, when the first time they didn't see it in him. A lot of that, in my opinion, is falls one or two things. You fall out of favor with the boss where they just don't see it in you, or something happens behind the scenes where, hey, you could be the greatest worker in the world. If you get all this analytical data that says people are turning off the channel, I'm not saying this is him, then, hey, he's the nicest guy, but people change the channel when he's on. Or when he's wrestling, he gets no reactions, or she too, there's a lot of things like that, you just can't really put your finger on. There's also some people that, I mean, if you're asking me, 3 to 5 years is a good shelf life for a talent. If they're not upper echelon, then hey, you have to cycle in new talent for your company. And if it's just you're getting paid and we call you when we call you, then some people are okay with it. I do think that is the past, and it kind of showed that, yes, he persevered. I'm a massive fan of his, and I think we will see new stuff. I really did I had no clue his vignettes were for about 3 weeks now in NXT. They showed that writing in different places.
Yep.
And it really, really worked. And then last night on the show, I liked it was so different. And I was like, this is brilliant. Writing in the sand of a beach. I thought it was a commercial. And I was like, I wonder who this person will be. And little stuff like that is very, very cool, because it's not like they're coming in with, let's say Lexus King, where you saw just a little bit of it, which that vignette was phenomenal. But this was very, very subtle. You didn't know what it was. And it turned out to be a nice surprise and somebody that the younger talent can benefit from, especially in NXT when you have younger talent in there. And they could be with a guy who's been TV ready forever, the whole 10 thing. And he's just someone that could really, really help. He could win. He could lose. Right now, I would suggest just, push him for the bit and keep him up there so he's credible to help somebody get you to the next level. It's a perfect place and a perfect role for him. And to your point, I'm still trying to rack my brain of somebody who was in WWE as one name, left, and then came back with their other name. I mean, even
now, Andre said about Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, but Scott Hall was Scott Hall before he went to the WWE. I think it's a little bit different.
He was also Razor Ramon.
Yeah,
he got over as Razor Ramon. He did not get over as Scott Hall.
You don't think he got over as Big Scott Hall in AWA?
You saying WWE? I don't.
But when he came back again, he was Scott Hall. He wasn't Razor Ramon.
Oh, so yeah, then that would work.
Yeah.
All right, we got one. Same with Kevin Nash.
Same thing with Kevin Nash.
Yes, we got two.
Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. So good job.
We don't need the nation now. Thanks. Unless you got somebody else.
There may be some more, but to that point, the Good Brothers, Anderson and Gallows is another one, Bully, that were on the main roster. You probably could have told me that they were future endeavored a year ago, and I would have believed you because we didn't see them much on TV at all. Now they're on NXT as well. NXT is doing a great job of using this experience on their show and using them in the right way to get the younger talent over and putting them on a big stage. So another reason why NXT, it seems, is doing things the right way.
The situation with the lack of use of the Good Brothers over the years has always kind of bothered me. And it bothers me for a very specific reason. Me and Devon's last night in the WWE, Monday Night Raw at the Barclays Center in 2016, they asked us to do a favor for the Good Brothers, and me and Devon were more than happy to do it for them because they were good dudes that we got along with, and we thought that they were going to use that night to help propel those guys into something special, and it never happened. So it was done for no good reason. These guys are a solid team. They look good together. You know, I like the different height. I like the bigger guy and the smaller guy. I like their finish, the Magic Killer. Like they work hard. Like all they needed was a little bit of momentum behind them, and some, you know, a story with another team, and just not even putting them with AJ really panned out. There was this pseudo Bullet Club, you know, stuff, and you know, the thing with the fingers, the Too Sweet, but nothing ever really caught on. And I don't think they ever really knew what to do with them. But I'm glad to see them back. Go ahead.
They were tag team champions for a little bit, but I get what you're saying. But I also, that same thing that you were just talking about, AEW, it's the same thing. It's different eyes. How come these guys were top tier in New Japan, top tier when they left WWE to come to TNA, had the opportunity to go to AEW, but then chose to go back to WWE. It's, you know, different eyes maybe view talents differently, or honestly, where do you fit in the card, because you have so many guys on the show. Then you have, I mean, they're a pure tag team. So if you have your pure tag teams, where do they fit in? As if they're the older guys that, you know, sometimes in wrestling, and I disagree with it, they feel, and I mean, if you think about it, the Dudleys went through it. Well, they're older, so now is their time to put talent over, which I totally disagree with. Done right, yes, it is to put talent over, but not like, oh, go out there, have a, you know, 6-minute match and you guys lose because you're older, as opposed to, you know, just not being, I mean, who cares about how old you are?
The explanation, I try to paint the picture of how, like, me and Devon felt in the WWE back when we had that last run, to kind of piggyback of what Tommy just said. The WWE sometimes will use older talent and step on them to get the younger talent over. So, like, I kind of looked at it as, me and Devon, the way we like to get talent over is, we're a team that established ourselves, you know, throughout the years, and we were at the top of the ladder. So if you're at the top of the ladder, you reach down and help pull up the rest of the talent and help them climb the ladder, as opposed to the way the WWE kind of utilized us. We were at the bottom of the ladder and they were using us for younger talent to step on, to propel themselves to the top of the ladder.
And they did that even back in the day, guys. If you remember, like Tony Gurria.
I was just going to say the same thing. Tony Gurria, Chief
and,
Jay Strongbow, Renee Goy,
yeah,
even Pedro Morales.
Yeah, Pedro Morales is a great one.
And I'm like, there's no way he's losing this quickly. You know, they did that to a lot of guys where, you know, and it wasn't like they were even like fat and out of shape. It was just like they're new talents that are coming in, and like, you know, they're gonna just, and it was just legit squashes. I couldn't believe some of it, but then on the other hand, they all had jobs forever after that. They really did.
The good thing that came out of that 1 year, listen, me and Devon got paid very well, yada, yada, Hall of Fame the next year. It's just myself and Vince McMahon disagreed on how the Dudleys should be used. What good came out of it? The New Day were propelled to the next level. The Usos were propelled to the next level. The Wyatt family. But after that year, I had a lot sucked out of me, Dave, because of the way they went about it. And I told Vince to his face, I can't do this Dudley thing anymore because of the way you have handled the act. I mean, I was respectfully blunt with him. And, that's when the whole, Bully Ray thing came up and yada, yada. We came very close, but I don't agree with using any talent, tag team, single, to be stepped on to propel any other talent to the next level.
They did it with Mickie James, too. Mickie James' last run in the WWE. Here's Mickie James, who, in my eyes, former world champion, one of the greatest women wrestlers of all time. To me, a first ballot Hall of Famer. In that last run, they kind of used Mickie in that same way, and it bothered me so much. Why would you do that? It's the same thing with the Dudleys, Bully. I mean, why? This is one of the greatest, most decorated tag teams of all time. Why are you using them in this way? If you should use them to propel younger talent, but not in that way. But like Tommy said, they did that even back. I was just watching an old show from 1985, and it's a good call from you, Tommy. Pedro Morales. Like Pedro Morales losing in 2.5 minutes. That's Pedro Morales. Former Intercontinental, former world champion. Here's a guy that main evented with Bruno Sammartino at Shea Stadium, and you're using him in enhancement matches? It's so disrespectful.
I don't. Oh, Tommy, hold on one second, and tell me if you agree with this, Tommy. I don't look at it as disrespectful. I look at it as the nature of the business. This is the business we have chosen. And you take the good and the bad of it. In no way in hell did the WWE disrespect the Dudleys in the way they treated us on our last run. But in the world of wrestling I came up in, the way I learned, I would have liked to have seen it done a different way. And I'm not saying that we needed to win titles or win matches. At the end of the day, it's about getting the other teams over. Dave, I told you, Vince McMahon sat us down at our first Monday Night Raw and said, Bubba, Devon, here's what you're doing for the next year. I need you to help get the New Day over. I need you to help get the Usos over. I need you to help get the Wyatt family over. Those were the exact words that came out of his mouth. Yes, sir. You got it, boss. Whatever you need. But the way they wanted to do it as compared to the way we wanted to do it, we disagreed.
All right, so let me ask you this. We just spoke to Matt Hardy on Monday. Do you feel it's a little disrespectful the way the Hardys are being used in AEW? We got a pay-per-view coming up in North Carolina this weekend. They're not even on the show. So, do you feel like in some ways, because you look at the Hardys, one of the greatest tag teams of all time, and right now they're when they work together, it seems like glorified enhancement matches. Is that a little disrespectful when you look at it?
Once again, I don't think the word disrespectful is the right word. Do I believe that Tony Khan is being deliberately disrespectful to Matt and Jeff? No. And I don't know Tony Khan as a person or as a matchmaker. And I refuse to use the word booker with him. But I don't think he's being disrespectful. Tommy, you know Tony a little bit better. He doesn't seem to be a disrespectful person from what I hear.
Not at all.
So I just think that you have the Hardys right now. I don't think the tag team scene in AEW is on fire right now, other than this match we have coming up at Revolution between the Bucks, Sting, and Darby. I think all the focus is on there. I would hope that coming out of this, the Hardys are a little bit more featured. Who knows? There could be, Tommy, tell me yes or no, there could be a little bit of Tony could be a little hesitant about putting Jeff in, featured positions because of the past things that have happened outside of the ring. And we hope those things never happen again. So those things, but I don't think it's disrespect. Do I think the Hardys should the Hardys at least be out there in North Carolina for something? Sure. It's their hometown.
I agree with everything Bully said. then I got to look at it the other way. My building is sold out where a guy is leaving. Why not hold off on the Hardys when I may need them? If I have Matt and Jeff on my card, I know what to do with them. I love Matt and Jeff and have used them when I had them, and they always drew for me. And when that music hits, that place comes unglued for them. I could then say the same thing of how many Australian acts WWE has and how many of them weren't even in Australia. You'd also know why, Dave. They saved it all for Rhea. And rightfully so. But you have to sometimes think of that. There's so many things that go into that. I mean, loudest pop, one of the loudest WrestleMania pops, Hardy's return to WWE.
In Orlando, WrestleMania 33.
Off
amazing.
the charts. And then it kind of just, Jeff also had gotten hurt, but it went from here's our high, and then however long they were there, maybe a year, maybe two, but then it's we're not going to continue to push this act because of what? Because they're older. And again, different eyes on different product. I'm against it. I don't think it is disrespectful. What I like to do is totally different what Bully likes to do. And I mean, Matt is super creative as well, but then if it doesn't fit in the plans of the boss, then you just have to kind of okay.
And to Tommy's point about the building being sold out, the main event tag match for the night is the Bucks versus Sting and Darby Allin. That's where you want all of the eyes and attention on. That's where you want the spotlight. So what would you do with Matt and Jeff? Do you just throw them in another tag match just to put them on the show? I don't know the entire card. I think there's about 9 matches. To me, the only tag match should be the Young Bucks against Sting and Darby.
There is another tag match. There's the BCC against FTR as well.
Okay, and that's going to be a great tag match. I would even take that match off of the show just to make Sting's match that much more unique. One tag match, Sting's last match is that tag match.